Okay, so I need to get this off my chest because I've been having thoughts about discussions I've had with friends and acquaintances about uh, free will, and I the conversations that we've had have just been circling around and around in my mind, and I think I need to make it all clear in a video. I don't believe free will exists. I I believe that underneath all of our actions, it's already determined for us due to the laws of nature, due to science, and that what we perceive as free will is merely an illusion, as they say, and it is merely an illusion. Now, a very interesting um, argument that my friend made, and I'm really happy he made this counter argument, is that, oh yeah, free will exists because I I can choose to be spontaneous. Zippity doppity da. Wow, that was random, but I chose to do that on my own free will. But what he got wrong, and I explained to him, and I think he took it in, is that when we make choices, there isn't an in there are there isn't an infinite possibility of choices that we can make. Yes, it can feel like it. Yes, it feels like there's almost infinite, but that's not how our brains are structured to work. Our brains don't have infinite possibilities. We have very limited possibilities based off of past experience, based off of our biology. I chose to go zippity doppity da because that's what I feel like is random to me based off of experience, but it's not. I can do this. I can, but I know how to do that. So I'm basing this off of knowledge that I have and what I think would be spontaneous and random, but it's not. If you try to think of something random, is that actually random? I don't think it is, because maybe the most random thing to do is something ordinary, right? But then if I tell you this, now that might be lingering in your mind again when someone says do something random and you just do something ordinary because, oh yeah, that guy said it online, and so I'm just going to use that as an example, right? It's how our brains work. Our brains are efficient. It, the law of uh, um, when you go from the law of the easiest, lowest effort, something like that. You know what I mean. I hope you know what I mean. But free will doesn't exist, right? Scientists have studied this with brain imaging, where there is there was this test where um, electrodes or uh, um, uh, sophisticated brain imaging that I think is called a. It's late at night. It's where they uh, it's where they monitor blood flow to certain areas of the brain that, neurologists have mapped the brain and they have pretty good understanding what certain areas do. And what they notice is that when participants had to make a choice, let's say between a steak and a salad, moments before they were consciously aware of making the choice of whether they would choose a steak or a salad, a repeated uh, uh, light up, repeated blood flow to a certain area of the brain would uh, tell the researchers what the participants were going to make before they made that decision. So in a way, this could be used as mind reading to uh, predict patterns in humans because our brains operate through levels of the conscious while you're thinking, while you're observing right now, through the subconscious, what you're not really thinking, but you are still thinking, but you're not consciously aware that you're thinking about it. And then there's the unconscious part where just the automatic motions of the brain, of the body, stuff that you don't really think about. And it's just making your heart beat and saying, hey, more blood flow or more um, electrolytes need to be moved to this area. Just that's the unconscious. That's what the unconscious does. And so this is why I don't believe in free will, is what I've learned in science. And yeah, I hope that this uh, made sense to you. It's late at night. I'm tired. I'm sore. And so I hope these thoughts were coherent because I just I need to get it out. I need to just get this message out, and I know it doesn't matter, but I need to make my thoughts very clear about this. And yeah, I think that's all I need to say about this subject. So yeah, so yeah. Oh yeah, another point I need to make is that we live in a world of cause and effect, right? There's we've mapped chemical reactions um, on a cellular, molecular level. And so when we study the human body, what we see is a bunch of very fast chemical reactions happening. And our brains, we go through these chemical reactions in fractions of a second. And there's so many moving parts. The human brain is the most complex thing in the observable universe that we've discovered so far. It's amazing. And so consciousness, right? It flows seamlessly. It flows automatically, and we still don't fully understand it. But why it feels like we can make a decision in an instant is because um, chemicals in our body, they move at a very fast, instant lightning pace, and our cells, they move very fast too, just like that. And so our brains are made of neurons. I hope you've heard of uh, what what that cell is. Um, And what's really important is that the top of the um, neuron looks like essentially your hand, right? The fingers are called dendrites. Um, the palm is the soma, cell body. The arm is the axon. And then you just chop off the arm and you have the synapse. And what's really important is that your fingers, those dendrites, they move around, they connect to other neurons and connect to the synapses, right? And so um, that stuff is constantly happening. Your brain is constantly changing and restructuring and moving. Neurons are dying, neurons are being born when you're learning information. For some information gets permanently deleted. Um, and So that's essentially how our brain works. And, there's the hormones, uh, there's the neurotransmitters. All that stuff is rapidly firing in an instant. And yeah, yeah. So, cause and effect world. Um, on a quantum level, people say, oh, yeah, the consciousness might exist there because on a quantum level, there's unpredictability, uh, where simply observing particles um, reduces like once you observe, you don't know where a particle is until you observe it, and so observing somehow changes reality, um, and so it's not completely understood, and so that's an argument people can make for consciousness to exist, that somehow consciousness exists in the quantum realm. I don't know about that. It feels very speculative. And then there's another argument made by that I've heard from the Science Channel Kurtzagat is a phenomenon called emergence, where um, where where it's essentially the saying more than the sum of the parts, where the individual parts, you can study them and by themselves, um, like they're not miraculous. They don't really produce anything spectacular. But when you take them as a whole, they create a whole new phenomenon. And so maybe the very complex interactions of the brain creates instability that then creates the emergence phenomenon of consciousness. And that would be a major breakthrough in science, because then that would mean that there is that biology created a physics, a new physics force that changes matter. Do you hear how absurd that sounds? That there is a force that that matter creates, that creates instability and uncertainty, that doesn't obey the laws of cause and effect, of this molecule interacting with this molecule, causing it to do this and that. Um, that would invoke the idea of chaos theory. Um, it could, I could kind of see it, but again, very speculative. And grounded in what we know, I think there's stronger evidence saying that free will doesn't exist. Yeah. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video.